In the beginning, man could only walk. When there was an obstacle that appeared before man, all he could do was say, and go around it. Man was so frustrated with his limited movement, and so he lived the rest of his days unable to navigate gaps in the floor, unable to grab things just out of reach, and eventually, man would die. Then man discovered how to jump and was so bemused by it, he turned it into 3 Olympic sports. When you think of platformers, you always think of Miyamoto and subsequently Mario. He was so revolutionary in his jump to a 3D space that he defined a whole genre of 3D platformers to come. After Super Mario 64, every game wanted to be a platformer. Conker, Gex, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Psychonauts, Rough Trigger, Croc, Klonoa, Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Ninja Bread Man. But that one kinda sucked. These were all games that tried to vie for the same success that Nintendo had. But when they thought they could get close enough, Mario said, "Fuck you, I'm going to space!" And it became the best game people ever played. Platformers eventually did stand out from each other. Conker was completely inappropriate for children to play. Gex made outdated references about famous people.
Note to self, don't drink tap water at Jerry Garcia's.
Crash Bandicoot was tough as nails. Psychonauts had a good story. But eventually, the meta would shift into a different genre of game in the early to mid 2010s, third and first person shooters. We would then see a cycle of multiplayer games, open world games, first person shooter multiplayer games, third person shooter open world games, first and third person shooter open world multiplayer games, and now we're back where it all began. Open world game. The thing is, somewhere along the line, people had this weird misconception that platformers were never fun to begin with, or were too easy in the face of real men's games. But this, quite frankly, isn't true. I mean, I handed Super Mario Sunshine to my 11-year-old brother, and he was stumped. Then, I handed it to my 23-year-old editor, and it broke him completely. And I got into this weird argument with my 29-year-old line manager who kept saying Fortnite requires more brain work than any other game out there, and that shit left me in shock, you know, like what happened to people? When did we become savages? Why was I having this argument with a 29-year-old and not with a 10-year-old? I think 3D platformers have officially begun their resurgence in the last few years, and once more, kicked off by a Mario game. Super Mario Odyssey reminded the world what a fun game was supposed to look like. A theme park filled with ideas and creativity, taking the shape of multiple open sandboxes. Not quite an open world yet. Bowser's Fury is a far better glimpse into what an open world Mario game could look like. And I think I'm creaming my pants at the thought of it. The issue with games from other genres is that the bar has quite literally been raised to an immensely high level, and everyone is still trying to play catch up. Doom told the world what a shooter is supposed to look like in this day and age twice. Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring are just wiping the floor with every other open world game that even tries to come close. Hollow Knight and Ori are sitting atop this Metroidvania throne that Silksong already looks poised to solidify, but there's always room for ideas with platformers. In fact, Nintendo wants everyone to really know this, so they released a 3D All-Stars collection and re-released 3D World. Yooka-Laylee reminded everyone that nostalgia sells but was poorly executed. Crash Bandicoot reminded everyone that nostalgia sells and released a 4th game. Psychonauts 2 reminded everyone that nostalgia sells, so here's a sequel to the game you were waiting for the last 16 years. Jesus Christ. KO the Kangaroo reminded everyone that nostalgia sells and remade the... Maybe the sole purpose of Nintendo re-releasing all its games was to tell you that nostalgia sells. Fuck you, Nintendo. But it's not all nostalgia. Kena Bridge of Spirits and A Hat in Time are both new indie games that capture the love that goes into the platforming genre. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart adds slightly new ideas to an already well-established franchise. Astro's Playroom is a literal free tech demo, but doubles as a super fun platforming experience, and It Takes Two is the biggest fuck you to AAA games in the industry, because this ended up being a game that was full of ideas, and more ideas, and it ended up winning Game of the Year. On the other hand, Balan Wonderworld is the biggest fuck you to platformers in the gaming industry, because Square Enix as a company have started making very shit decisions, and this is the biggest one in recent memory. But this year has been pretty good so far. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is such a faithful return to a 3D space for the character, and it excels at being such a fun game, despite not being a hard one. Neon White takes center stage for being one of the most fun surprises of the year. A speedrunner's complete wet dream, jerking you off at super speed. Stray is also a game releasing very soon, or will have released by the time this video comes out. And I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I say platformers are the most flexible genre to implement your own ideas. This is literally a game about a cat but a platformer. Then you got Sonic Frontiers, which is technically an open zone game, but then you have these little cyberspace levels, and they're just like the 3D platforming sections from Sonic Generations. So again, Sonic Frontiers is a reminder that nostalgia sells.
Hadouken!